Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is 2:10, and I would like to call the meeting to order. We were a little late getting started this afternoon, so with that, I would ask for a resolution for the adoption of the agenda, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolve the agenda for the meeting to be adopted as circulated with the noted additions. Communication for action, 5.2, Association of Rural Municipalities, 5.3, East Selkirk Middle School, new other business, 6.6, subdivision S23-2997, development agreement and restricted covenant agreement. 6.7, roll number 302177, arrears and penalties cancellation. And then communication for information, 9.4.4, Canadian Parks and Recreation.
Thank you for that. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Gazarovich, second Councillor Belanger. Anything else that needs to be added to the agenda or taken off the agenda and moved forward? Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
Under new business, new and other business, I just want to bring up a conversation about a road grading policy. We have policy 516 right here, which is winter. And I just want to have a bit of a chinwag on creating a summer road grading policy if we could.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where do you want to put that, Mr. CAO, under new and other or in camera?
It doesn't.
New and other, and then we can discuss more details in camera.
Okay.
So use Councillor.
Perfect, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
Two things,
Okay.
hamper money distribution,
Right?
or what we call a Christmas hamper from the Christmas party, and Christmas lights.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else for the agenda? Any changes, additions? Hearing and seeing none, I have a mover, I have a seconder, all in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, next. Next we have the confirmation of our last meeting minutes from November the 21st.
And so resolve the minutes of November 21st, 2023, regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Belanger, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion, any changes, corrections to the minutes from our last meeting? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We do not have any delegations this afternoon, so we're going to move on to number 5 on our agenda, communications for action, and the first one is Selkirk Biz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a meeting that was scheduled by Selkirk Biz for their AGM and elections, and it was originally scheduled for November, which was then rescheduled for January 11th, 2024. It's also at the same time as the next item on the agenda, which is the Association of Rural Municipalities meeting in January. So what we're looking to see is who would be attending the AGM at Gaffer's Restaurant.
Okay, who's going to go to the Biz? Rob and Sandra?
I'm going on the 11th, and I'm also going this Thursday for the Christmas lunch at the Record.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyone else going to go to Selkirk Biz on the 11th? Okay, if we can have the resolution then.
Resolve Councillor Rob Belanger and Sandra Strang be authorized to attend the Selkirk Biz annual general meeting and elections at Gaffer's Restaurant on January 11th, 2024.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Horvis seconds. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Now the next one we have is our Association of Rural Municipalities January meeting, and that happens to be on the same day, and it is in
At the Heritage Arts Center in Torrey Park in Stonewall, Manitoba.
Okay, so who is going to that one? Who put their hands up for that? Glenn, you'll be there. Anyone else? Councillor Sutherland, are you going to ARM? Okay. Councillor Horvis, no, you're not going to be here. Okay, and I'll go to ARM.
That's a Stonewall?
Correct, at the
Yeah.
Heritage Center. So resolve Mayor Feeblecorn and Councillors David Sutherland and Glenn Bassarovich be authorized to attend the Association of Rural Municipalities meeting at the Heritage Arts Center in Stonewall, Manitoba on January 11th, 2024.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Strang, Counselor Spicer seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the next one we have is the East Selkirk Middle School, and this one I just got yesterday, so I'm not,
Yes.
don't know much about it.
What they are is that they're planning for 16 questions related to reconciliation. They've identified each class of 16 classes to identify a specific question related to reconciliation. And what they are is having an event on December the 21st at the winter solstice, and they'll be gathering and assembling all those 16 questions from each individual class and having a little bit of a discussion around that. So they've invited the council to attend and as they reflect on the past and acknowledge our learnings and grow towards reconciliation.
Okay, I'm not sure if anyone else put down that they would be interested. I will be going. I'm just trying to see a time here again.
Oh, you wanted to know what time it was at?
Yeah,
Certainly. I
it's
think
not in the letter. I was just.
10:30 a.m. in the
Okay.
gymnasium.
Okay, I will be going. Did anybody else put their name forward? Okay, then let's have a resolution to move it forward.
Resolved, Mayor Feeble-Corn be authorized to attend the East Selkirk Middle School 16 Questions for Reconciliation project assembly at the East Selkirk Middle School on December 21st, 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horvis, Councillor Bazarowicz seconds. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing and seeing. Oh, go ahead.
No,
All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so we can move on to new and other business, and the first item we have there is the Dutch elm removal, the contract extension.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this is a contract extension to the Dutch Elm program that we've been doing in the RM for several years. And what it's about, since 2015, we've been doing this program. This year, there were 72 trees cut down, and this was provided and then we also applied the basil treatment to many of the trees. And the municipalities continue to use Green Drop as our provider. So what we're recommending is that we proceed with continuing on with the program with the province of Manitoba. They do a 50% reimbursement, which includes the cost for tree removal. The two portions combined this year, or this coming year, will be at $23,030. Is the overall cost for the work.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
So, is that after the reimbursement, what we put out 23? Or is that
That's the total cost.
total cost? Okay.
And then we get a reimbursement based on, last year we received $13,455.
So it's not worth tendering?
No.
Okay, anything else? Not seeing any hands go up, so if you could bring the resolution forward.
Be it resolved that council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager, authorize the Public Works Manager to proceed in extending the 2022 Dutch Elm RFP for an additional year to the 2 Green Drop at 2023 rates estimated at $23,030 plus GST.
Now, mover, please, Councillor Spicer, Councillor Bazarowicz seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Okay.
So the next item, Madam Mayor?
Yes, the culvert replacement on 204.
Yes, culvert replacement on 204, Madam Mayor. I received an email, and the Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure have started a program during the last year requesting the RM to give them authorization when they're working in our areas, especially when they're doing road closures and so forth. This is after the fact, as it was missed, but in order to do their paperwork, they would still like to have a resolution of council to give them the authority to do the road closure. We could certainly discuss it more if you like afterwards. And so there were two culverts placed, and this is right at the boundary of East St. Paul and the Arm of St. Clements on Henderson Highway. There was some residents' concerns, and the province of Manitoba have been dealing directly with the residents so far.
I have a question, not so much to do with this particular project, but just in general, because I know at one time when they decided, they being the province, decided to do work on any of the provincial roads, they never told us ahead of time. Has that changed? Do they have any communication with us that this is the work we'll be doing in the next month, or, you know, something to that effect?
Not really any advance notice. The culvert, part of the program they are beginning to,
Okay.
as they're coming into it, but not necessarily all the roads that do they give us any significant notice in advance. Sometimes
Okay.
it's just when they're doing it.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
I think this is my memory of it. I think they did give us notice that they were resurfacing 204.
Oh, yes, when they did the resurfacing of 204,
Yeah,
definitely.
It's just too bad they didn't change the culverts first.
Two different departments, yes.
Go ahead, Councillor Strang. I just wondered if Councillor Belanger had something.
I
he
think she
wanted
can
to
go
add.
first.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say right there within their own, the province, they're not communicating between two different departments, but, I think over Rob, I forgot what I was gonna say.
It did address speeding along Henderson Highway.
Yeah. Yeah. Speed bumps.
At AMM.
Yeah, they came to Rebec Road instead.
Robin,
Sorry,
and
they
sorry,
rewrote it.
Rob.
At AMM in Brandon, I think the main theme, and it currently is still the same theme, because in the paper yesterday it said that Manitobans, by a larger proportion, are behind the current new government. And I think it has a lot to do with the phrase communication, to increase the communication between the government and Manitobans and government and municipal governments. And you know me, I'm big on writing letters, and I did have a really brief chat with the Minister of Infrastructure at AMM in passing, and he did say, send a letter. So I'm just saying, it's nice to send a letter to the new Minister of Highways to say, hello, this is St. Clements, Municipality of St. Clements. We hope that the communication is, and I don't have an issue, I mean, we shouldn't have an issue in indicating to the new minister the problems we had in the past, and that we hope moving forward that there's a better dialogue between your department and our municipality. I think it's fair to say that we've been, in more cases than one, not been told what's going on in a lot of cases with whatever they're doing. And I just think a nice friendly letter saying hello, and let's keep that dialogue going. And he said, send it, so
You
that's
know,
my comment in
I think we had discussed previously, and our CAO was going to send some letters to a number of ministers, and I know that that probably has not transpired at this point in time, but maybe right after the new year, we can send those letters out and start the dialogue with them and see what they say. You know, I know, you know, the gist of that was we were gonna kind of tell the minister what we had on the go here and made sure that they were aware, the new minister was aware of what we were doing, rather than not knowing as a new minister what we were up to here in our municipalities.
and on that, on what I said, I just think it's important that we don't just say whatever. You need to bring concerns forward to those folks. They're not gonna know unless you bring them forward. The comment might be, geez, I didn't know it was that bad. They wouldn't have known if we don't say it. So I'm just saying, by just subtly saying something, it's nice to bring it, if we wanna talk communication, it means openness on both sides.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Dave,
Dave,
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, in regards, okay, to the resurfacing of Henderson, there was that email, I think Sandra was a resident on Riverboy, and,
Well, the bump,
yeah, to me, that should be something that highways would address. But
This
I'm
is-
just wondering if that ever got resolved.
It was resolved by staff, but it was something that, it was resolved by, I requested staff, and I think they took care of it last
Okay.
week. But to further discuss that, when this issue originally came up, it came up on McKay as well as River by several residents. We told them to contact the province because our public works were in the past admonished for doing any work that was connecting into existing roadways, because that was inside the control zone. And so for some reason this time, and nothing to do with the election or anything, just a response came back saying, no, we're not responsible for connections to RM roads. And my response back was, well, how could you not be? If you're coming in to replace and resurface an entire road, you should be leaving that in the same condition as it was previously, no different than when we go and do any work on any previous road. That was going back and forth, but unfortunately, the only persons that were suffering were our own residents. So I instructed our staff last week, go ahead, put the gravel, get these roads into somewhat level shape, and we'll keep track of the costs, and then we can have a discussion with Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure as I continue to sort of approach them to say, I don't understand what are the rules that you have here. That if you come in, that if they come down and they resurface or rebuild 59, that every road connecting in the RM to Highway 59 would be the responsibility of the RM if they're going to raise the road or lower the road. It makes no sense.
But I'm glad you got that resolved. And yeah, that's still within their right of way.
Yes,
So, but I think you did the right thing by just getting it done, so thanks.
Sandra. Oh, sorry.
Scott and then Sandra, I think.
The weird part about it was, is they had the equipment out there and they were doing it on the driveways. Like if you had an asphalt driveway, they were extending the asphalt.
yes.
If you had a gravel driveway, and they came along and got rid of the lip. So the equipment was there.
I would agree, and I think the situation, what ended up happening here is that two things got mixed up together. One was, there's been some complaints by some residents about changing the approach off of McCabe and making it wider so that people are able to make the proper turns. And part of that is also the issue of the requirement that highways would like to see those as 90-degree angles, and these are off angle, so they want the RMs to fix those, so it's this back and forth, so they mix that up with the fact that they should have returned our roads, like Riverby and McKay, at least to the same standard they were when they started the construction.
I do remember that conversation about McKay
And the,
a number of years ago. Yeah, but anyway, that's,
Go ahead, Sandra.
No, I was just, Scott came out and said it. I think that's what the residents were disappointed because they saw the driveways being fixed and then here it was the road that how many of them used and it wasn't getting, they weren't doing anything to it, so.
yeah, and our public works, and we explained this, I explained this to some of the residents, that our public works were hesitant because we were told, do not come and work into the control zone without prior permission from highways. You know, as a perfect example, we weren't able to do any work with the water lines without getting prior permission. We weren't able to do any work with the water lines going off of CIL or anywhere near 59 when we were in the highway control zone. So public works were hesitant without getting ourselves into a conflict, but at the same point, we had residents, so I said, just do it, I'll seek forgiveness from the province if I get yelled at.
So this is like they're seeking forgiveness, getting a resolution for,
Well, I think what it is, I think there's some,
Finish their work off, like, you
yeah,
know,
I think
their
there's,
paperwork off.
I think there's some confusion that because of all this interaction that's occurred. And I think they should have probably have done the right thing and fixed those in the first place. Might have been missed, I don't know. Because Riverby is not the only road that intersected that entire stretch. And it was definitely something that was missed, and they should have, that should have been corrected. And, but on top of that, I think that confusion created the issue, and at this point, we were running into, when it continued to drop over time, we had to do something.
I agree, you did the right thing before something comes through. Not responsible.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is 6.3, and it's to do with subdivision S132532 and the letter of credit for that subdivision.
Did we do the resolution? Or
Oh, sorry, for the supporting resolution for the previous
Culvert
one.
replacement?
Culvert.
No, we didn't.
Thank you,
So-
Scott.
Thank you. Whereas Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure Capital Region recently installed two 1,200 millimeter corrugated steel culverts on PR 204 by Old River Road to replace two existing 900 millimeters and one 600 millimeter corrugated steel culverts that were in poor condition. And whereas Highway Regional Operations Capital Region is requesting council support of the culvert replacement work. Therefore, be it resolved, council support the culvert replacement work at PR 204 by Old River Road, completed by Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Gazarovich seconds. Any further discussion?
Yeah, so, if I may,
Go ahead.
it's gonna come back again now, because they also shut down the road to replace a couple of culverts at, opposite dwelling property there. There's a creek that goes through. That was shut down for a week almost. When they
At
were,
which crossroad?
in between Dunning and Donald, and they were, that's when you got complaints about speeding and Dunning.
They did get a resolution from us for that one.
Oh.
We did bring it to council. That one they asked us in advance, and we were able to get that done in advance. And then after that, we made the request for them to do it on Dunning, or to put the appropriate signage up for the detour, because they had to do the detour. And then we also worked with the RCMP and Manitoba Infrastructure to make sure that there was appropriate patrolling, and from my understanding, there was a considerable number of highway traffic offenses handed out.
Okay, on that one, I have a mover, I have a seconder. If there is no further discussion, I'll call a question. All those in favor, opposed? Okay, now we'll move on to 6.3, and it's subdivision S132532 and the letter of credit we have for that subdivision.
Yes, Madam Mayor, so this is a bit of a long story. And it's dealing with a subdivision of 2013, so some time ago. So the subdivision had occurred, and there was a requirement to do a letter of credit. The following map, let me zoom out a little bit, required for as part of the subdivision was to put in swales along these three properties. The letter of credit, the swales were never completed. The property has been sold, and the letter of credit has been kept on file all this time. We've made multiple attempts with the original developer who left the letter of credit, to see if they would finish off those swales, because they were identified as part of the subdivision plan and as part of the development agreement. They have not been completed. Now, different property owners are owning some of those properties. I think this, out of three properties that were created as a total, the two properties are owned by the same individual. So we have one of two options. We will make one more last attempt at contacting the original developer to say, are they going to do it? Otherwise, we will draw upon the letter of credit so that the swales can be put in place. Obviously, we will have to get permission from now property owners to come and do the swales. I'd be letting them know that if we don't do the swales, any future flooding, they'll be taking liability because they can't come back and say that there was drainage issues. The developer, the amount of money that's been sitting in letter of credit may not be enough. Is because it's been sitting for so long, and it should have been addressed much sooner. Our goal is not to allow this kind of situation to occur in the future, definitely, but it's one of those legacy situations, and hopefully if we utilize our own resources and others, we can stay within budget.
Okay, I see a couple of hands up. Rob and then Dave.
Is this Places property? Okay, thank you, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
I didn't know he sold those lots, but, so, he sold them, obviously without getting a drainage work done, which was not the right thing to do, you can't, right? Or could he
You
legally?
Yeah, you could legally, because once the lines, the properties are registered, but if you came to do a building permit, those swales would be needed.
So he wouldn't have to notify these people that bought those two lots that, by the way, there's these swales up he put in, or I didn't think he
Well,
could do that.
it was his obligation, so it would be that the developer would have to, and that's why we have a letter of credit, to make sure that if that obligation is not satisfied,
Yes.
we would exercise a letter of credit. The question is, and this is something I'll be having further discussions on as we develop more process and procedures to avoid these kinds of things in the past. What's a reasonable amount of time after a subdivision has been approved that the land drainage works have to be completed by before we start exercising our right to utilize the letter of credit?
But yeah, that was my point though, like, he shouldn't have been allowed to sell that land until such time that drainage was put in. I don't get it.
There might have been circumstances that allowed that to happen in the
You
past.
don't have to tell the buyer that, by the way, there's some drainage work that has to go, okay. Interesting,
Yes, the development agreement is there. The development agreement is between us and the party.
yes,
The development agreement is registered on the parcel, so when somebody goes to buy it, their lawyer is supposed to go and check the development agreement and see what are all the outstanding amount of things that
Okay.
need to be done. Whether that was done or communicated, all those things are very difficult for us to judge. Once a subdivision has been approved and the requirements for meeting that development agreement have been identified, the best that the RM or the government can do is impose things such as letters of credit or place restrictions on having the subdivision registered with land titles. Now, sometimes developers have come in the past, and they'll probably come in the future, asking for release of the requirement, saying that they will get this done very quickly. An example would be coming in the winter, saying, please release my ability to be able to sell these properties, and I'll make sure that I'll do the swales, and I have a letter of credit to accommodate. The question is, how long do you wait? And if you are waiting, should this be reviewed regularly? So an example would be, somebody hasn't completed a road or hasn't done some drainage work, then you say, okay, if it's older than 2 years, we would hire an engineer to come in and do an analysis and say, is the money in the letter of credit sufficient? And if not, then we would contact the developer and say, you need to put more money in the letter of credit to get this done, or that you complete it, or we're going to complete it. So then that can be something that you can get ahead of the game.
got one more question. So, I think you had mentioned, you said that the owner of this property, if he decides to sign a waiver and say, well, if it floods, it's on me, is he allowed to, and not have to put the drainage in? If so, that $5,000 the place had to put down was a letter of credit. So, if the owner says, I'll take my chances, what happens to the 5,000? Place gets it back?
Well, it's not the owner that's taking the chances, it's also the other property owners that might be impacted.
I haven't, no, but I got a question. I knew who lived right next door, there's no drainage problems there. That's just my opinion. So, in all likelihood, if he takes his chances, he's not gonna flood there or anything. 'cause
No,
they're
but
not-
when they come for a permit, we have an engineered plan that says that swales need to be done. So we will be, if they don't do it now, because nothing's been constructed there,
Okay,
then when we go in to do the approval, we'll be relying on engineered plans that say a swale needs to be put in place. So if you don't
Okay.
choose to do it now, then you're going to be paying for it later yourself.
that answered my, so he can't, I thought, there was it read there that he could waive the rights, or if he decides not to put the swales in, the guy that bought it, but no, when he goes to apply for a building permit, in all likelihood, the swales will have to put it.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
And so, and I want to make sure that that's explained, what's written in the decision paper is, it says that we have to go and get permission from the property owner, who could refuse us from coming on their property to put the swales in. And I'm going, okay, so then, not only will they have to waive their right, they'll have to have a clear understanding if we plan to do anything on that property, we will be imposing this.
So he would be required to put these swales in, bottom line, okay. I just thought by him waiving the right you'd mentioned before, is that, you know, you can build there and everything, just, if there is any drainage problems, okay, then that's not gonna happen, he'll have to put swales in. Okay, that's,
Go ahead,
Thank you very
Councillor
much.
Boulanger.
Shouldn't the trigger point come when property is sold, that there is like a red flag to the municipality that this subdivision lot is, or the person who subdivided it is now selling the property? Shouldn't there be like a trigger system at that point to say, you know, has the development agreement been met? Like,
That's kind of what I was just
like
saying.
just like almost like a flagging system on the computer where we can, maybe we don't got the technology to do that, but when it's sold,
The lawyers.
trigger, like,
That's what the lawyers do, like they
yeah,
supposed to.
that's what I'm
supposed
just
to-
for. He said the lawyer should.
And the other
How
time,
did,
this was
how did he,
It
how did he get his certificate of approval and have the subdivision registered if he did not do all the work that was outlined in the development agreement?
Subdivision needs to be registered in order to create a development agreement on the registered parcels. Once it's registered, they can start selling. Perfect example, Sunset Bay. There's outstanding drainage issues related with it. Those will happen all the time. You will have lots of requirements. Sometimes there's requirements on a development agreement that aren't necessarily anything to do with being able to sell the land.
That being said, would Fuller start to sell lots? Can he sell lots yet?
He has.
He has. He sold several of the lots. The thing was, they can't do building permits until the drainage has
That's
been
the
approved.
trigger.
And that's our control.
Okay, that-
Okay.
Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, so you've answered, I think, a lot of the questions I had, but essentially it comes down to there has been no certificate of completion on the subdivision. It couldn't have been,
Not without the development agreement.
okay? So, I guess, going back to what you suggested, we should probably have a fulsome discussion on some type of a policy then for how long do we do this? How long do they have to complete what needs to be completed to get their certificate of completion? Because that seems like that's the only thing that we could do here, from what I'm hearing. And then that, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here, because I don't know if we can do it, but, so let's take this, for example, so we have $5,000. And now we know that it's gonna cost $10,000. So let's say we give them 2 years to do everything that they need to do from the time that it's registered. Do we have the ability to require that that letter of credit increase every year after until it's done, so it covers the cost if they're not going to do it in those 2 years period?
That's exactly what I was talking about. We need to have a policy on review period. So somebody can come in and do a subdivision, need requirements for a land development agreement, and they can sit on the land for a number of years. And if a subdivision hasn't been satisfied, hasn't met all the conditions, then there's a council policy can be written that after that, we would ask for a review and a new costing from the developer, not from the RM, from the developer, just like they provide us now, as to what the cost would be to satisfy that condition. And then update all our letters of credit accordingly. So if somebody came in and said they had to put in several roads, and if a subdivision's been sitting there for 10 years, the letter of credits are of no use. Obviously, without the roads, they would have difficulty selling the parcels, but they can. There's lots of pre-sales that occur all the time.
Oh, we have that situation in the south end beside the industrial park.
Yes, parcels
Those
of land.
roads have not been put in, and you have to parcel off of Floodway Drive.
Yes.
Okay, anything else on this one? Go ahead, Dave.
So, if you're saying that, and you're saying that the developer comes back to you and says, this is the cost now?
We would notify the developer if we wrote the policy, we'll do the investigation, do a comparison of what happens elsewhere.
Oh, we
We'll do that first, we'll
Okay.
write the policy and then say that would trigger, then it would be a timeline, so it's a trigger point. It will be a timeline that says, if something hasn't happened by this particular time, a letter goes out to the developer saying nothing's been satisfied, we're holding this letter of credit. Now either are you going to act on it, either we cash it, or you give us an update saying that you're going to increase your letter of credit and you plan to do it at a later point.
And that increase would be run by our engineers
Yeah.
to make sure that it's the appropriate amount.
That's where the developer would do the estimate, give it to us, and our engineers would
look at it.
review it and
Yeah,
then
okay.
agree to that amount. Same process they give us now when we determine the letter of credit.
Okay.
Just so you know, the $5,000 isn't even gonna cover the cost of, it's all trees, just to cut all the trees up before you start to swale. It's all trees if you look at them. So, it's,
10 years, a lot of trees can grow.
Can the swale not go on the other side of the trees? The trees
It
don't have
can.
to come down?
it's all,
Trees don't
it's
have
all
to-
trees.
No, I didn't think
You
so.
don't have to come down?
No.
Crooked
No.
swale.
Oh, yeah, you can do a crooked swale.
Okay, all right.
You can do,
It's
if
a
you,
lot.
the swale is, the intent is just to move the water from the land. It doesn't, there's this misconception that it has to be on the property line. It doesn't have to be on the property line. As long as it's inside the property line,
Okay,
and it can be, if there's lots of tree coverage, as a matter of fact, we'll be having a discussion on one of those subdivisions soon, where the update is to move it a little further away from the trees, because people don't want to see the trees cut down just for a swale.
And the trees
but
will
in this
still
case, it's all trees,
Yeah, and the trees will still cut off.
so there's lots of trees that have to come down.
Natural water.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe that there
Yeah,
is a
it'll probably-
We don't want to- I know
resolution
area
for this
55.
one. There's no further discussion, I'll ask for the resolution to come forward.
Whereas subdivision file S 13-2532 was conditionally approved by the Rural Municipality of St. Clements on February 26, 2014, and as a conditional approval for the subdivision and development agreement was required to be entered into, and whereas the development agreement was executed between Dale David Place and Michelle Nicole Place and the RM, and whereas the developer did not complete the requirements of the development agreement, and a drainage plan was submitted, but the council construction of the swales were not constructed, and whereas in accordance with the development agreement, if this agreement is terminated for any cause or in the event of non-compliance by the developer with any of its obligations under this agreement, the municipality may call on the security in whole or in part such manner as the municipality may, in its absolute discretion, deem most advisable, and therefore be it resolved that council of the Rural Municipality of St. Clements call on the letter of credit in the amount of $5,805 and contact the landowner about the completion of the drainage works. And further be it resolved that chief administrative officer or designated staff deals with all matters to correct this non-compliance of the development agreement.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Horvath seconds, discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's 10 years ago almost, and we're just dealing with this now. Like, where has it been all this time? Like, what brought this to light, I guess is what I want to say.
It's
Been that long? 10 years?
The developer was requesting for their
Yeah, they wanted their money.
Credit back.
letter permit, which triggered a review.
Okay, that's all, that's good. That's good. I just was curious why
It's gonna cost them more money.
the subdivision
It
file
cost
was
us.
S13, and it was approved by council on February 26, 2014, so I'm saying 10 years.
Yeah. And so there will be some of those kinds of scenarios, and that's why I think we need to learn from these, make sure these things don't happen in the future. And the best way to do that is create the appropriate policies so the administration can have triggers to go back on many of these. Unfortunately, in many cases, subdivisions occur, especially these types of subdivisions where it's just a subdivision of land and there's no attempt to build something on there in a short time. Those are the ones that kind of slip through the cracks. It's the ones that, where they're acting on it actively,
Yeah.
it's very easy to keep on top. And especially the ones with no roads or any other infrastructure associated with it. Just a quick subdivision. How many 2-lot and 3-lot subdivisions have occurred, and whether they've ever been sold or the individual is still sitting with them, all those kinds of scenarios.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. 6.4, the Interlake Tourism Travel Guide.
Thank you. This is a request from the Interlake Tourism for advertisement on their page. And it does talk about the RM. There's a copy of the overall tourism guide in the report itself that was published, and it does talk about things about the RM. And every RM has been asking, to see if they could put in some type of an advertisement. Last year, we were asked to do this, and the council authorized 1/8 of the page, which was $200, which has gone up to $250 this year. And we're recommending probably utilize the same unless council wishes to change that and increase the size of the ad.
You're the big tourist.
I will let you know, we have the smallest ad out of all the RMs.
I kind of thought that.
So if you would like to go to a larger ad, we certainly can.
I would love to.
I would support that.
That's the first thing I did. Where's the comments?
So what is the normal size of the ads everyone else is doing when you notice? Quarter page ads?
Sort of page, actually.
Half a page?
Half a page is $650, quarter page is $400.
We can go up slowly.
Yep, we could do the quarter for 400, did you say? Sorry.
Yes, 400 for the quarter page. Council wishes, we can put that forward.
Yep, I think that would work.
Okay. So, resolve, council approve the purchase of the advertising space in the Interlake Travel Guide for the placement of a quarter page ad at a cost of $400.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the next one, I believe, is the 6.5, the emergency plan. Or did I miss one?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
And so this is the Rural Municipality of St. Clement's emergency plan. It's been updated. Our protective services officer, along with our consultant, have worked on this, and they've completed updates to the emergency preparedness plan, which is required on a regular basis. norms from previous emergencies and new techniques and things that have been appropriate and has been updated. This version is required to be adopted by council, and so we're bringing it forward for council's adoption.
Okay, thanks for that. Any questions or comments from council? If we could have the resolution to bring it forward, please.
Whereas the Province of Manitoba Emergency Measures Act states the review of our emergency plan must be conducted on a regular basis, and whereas there has been some amendments made by Napier Consulting and Tyler Freeman Protective Services, therefore be it resolved, Council adopt the 2024 emergency plan as presented.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Boulanger seconds. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Did you have a question, Dave, I missed? No?
Sorry, no.
No, okay. Okay, then we're moving on to 6.6, and that's another development agreement and a restricted covenant agreement.
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is parcel of land that was sold in order to allow for communication equipment to be placed on site, and this for Valley Fiber. That was the subdivision that was done. What it required was a requirement that no radio towers would be utilized because it was intended specifically for communications for fiber, and that was a discussion at the council meeting, and so this is a restricted covenant agreement that goes to that, and we're asking for council's approval so that it can be signed and moved forward.
If you could bring the resolution forward, please.
Resolved that the development agreement and a restricted covenant agreement dated November 29th, 2023 between the Arma St. Clements and DIF Southern Manitoba Fiber LP be accepted, and the mayor and CEO be authorized to sign and seal same.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horbis, second. Councillor Strang, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. And 6.7.
Okay, so,
That's another arrears and penalties cancellation.
yes, Madam Mayor, so this is a bit of a situation where council had passed a resolution authorizing a fine of $250, and what ended up happening was there was some
Thank you.
what there was some confusion that happened within administratively. It was placed on the taxes, and I do remember the discussions with the property owners that our protective services officer was having, was that there was a requirement to do fencing, and there was some back and forth issues related to this dog that was leaving their yard on a regular basis. So innovative solution was to come up with an invisible fence, because it was quite an extensive amount of fencing, and there was a lot of pushback and costs, and so it was resolved, but unfortunately that communication didn't come through properly into our taxes, and it was put onto the tax arrears. And so what we're asking for is that that should be forgiven, because it's an error on the part of the tax arrears as part of being added to the taxes. And since it's an error, it requires council approval to waive those tax arrears.
But the property owner did everything that they were
Correct.
supposed to do.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Okay, if you have a resolution, bring it forward and we'll see where it goes.
Whereas request was received to cancel arrears and penalties for roll number 302177, and whereas the administration has reviewed the request and confirmed arrears and penalties were a result of administrative error, therefore be it resolved, as per policy 408, the arrears and penalties of roll number 302177 be cancelled.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Horbis seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, now we have our additions that we put on just earlier today. And the first one is the summer road grading policy. Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger, unless Deepak, you wanted to speak to that.
I'll let Councillor Boulanger start, and then I'll respond accordingly.
I know I spoke with some in council regarding our summer road grading policy. After getting some of the staff to look for a policy regarding summer road, there is none. It just has to do with winter road plowing and such, policy 516. Over the number of years, I've been getting all kinds of calls from constituents, ratepayers regarding the lack of road maintenance in the summer. And I can contest to myself as a councillor in the RM who drives down a specific road, and I'm going to use the word daily because it is daily, and I don't see a grader for 4 months. As an elected official, that's concerning to me because I wonder, well, if they're not all grading, we have to find out how we can correct this. So I think it's important that our public works have a bit of a roadmap to follow, a bit of a policy to follow, so they know what's expected of them, first off. We can't blame anybody unless there's a policy in place that one can follow. So I think it's important that a summer road grading policy be put together, and I'd be willing, in fact, I've started already putting something together, and I'd be more than happy to continue that. Pass it on to administration. Administration can do their wonderful work they do with policies and perhaps give it to somebody within to work on. But I do want to have a bit of 2 cents in the policy, and whether that's kosher or not, I don't know, but I do want to help out and start something and then pass it on, and then council can look at it and then eventually get a summer road grading policy passed. Within there, it would be like the minimum amount of grading required. It would be visual, going out and visually looking at roads at least 2-3 times a month. Those are some of my ideas. We need someone to go out and look at the roads to determine whether or not they do need grading, but sure enough, have a policy that we can follow. And that is it.
Should I respond to the councillor, Madam Mayor?
Go ahead.
I commend the councillor in approaching this in the proper governance manner. I think this is what we should be, if council wishes, council members can all and any submit what they think should be addressed, and then request the administration to come back, go back, look at issues and costs and workload and anything else that's related with it, and report back on what kind of a summer road policy grading is needed. And then that can be brought back for council for discussion for a policy to be established. I think that's not a bad idea, and if council wishes, you could pass a resolution today. You could make a determination saying for the administration to report back with gravel road policy by such and such date or before spring or whatever you like, and then we would then, as the administration, would respond accordingly.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, you can share whatever information you wanted as individual council members to myself, please, and then I will distribute it to the Public Works and then work on delivering something back to you.
Okay, any comments, questions? Go ahead, Councillor Strain.
I think that a lot of our policies for public works have to be relooked at because with climate change, look at our snow clearing. They've been at one, that was November 16th. Actually, I had a resident bring this to my attention the other day, and they were asking if there was a sanding policy. And I said that is a very good question that, and just with Councillor Boulanger bringing that up.
Yeah, definitely, we could certainly look at those.
I said we don't need for there's times that we aren't having the snow right now, that we do need the sander out more often. So that's just a comment on it.
Well, and I think as a whole, and this is kind of my opinion, I think as a whole, that policy manual for all departments probably hasn't been looked at or reviewed in quite some time, and maybe that's something if we could get our staff to full complement that could be looked at for a job for 2024. Just a thought.
Definitely, no, I
Just
would,
a thought.
no, I would agree. And I can discuss more on my feelings things afterwards. But what I can tell you is I think it's an important thing to do. And as the councillor Strang has pointed out, these types of policies should be reviewed regularly because climate change does have an impact. And if it's requiring a modification to our policies so that where there's been flexibility given on public works, at least let's make sure that it's clear where the flexibility is and where council would like to see it as a policy. As direct requirements. You know, it can go as detailed as obviously there's costs associated with any kinds of things, you know, 3 centimeters of snow plows have to be out. 10 centimeters of snow plows have to be out as opposed to 3. Those kinds of things can be put in place as necessary.
Used to be 5. There was a policy, I don't know what it is now, but
There are some policies that are old that have not been reviewed for a number of years. As a matter of fact, I brought that up.
That
Last year.
policy was probably inches when you were that close.
Five
You did not the
centimeters,
metric
5
system.
inches.
That's why they should probably be reviewed.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so there's really nothing at this point in time we're gonna do. We're gonna gather our thoughts and pass them on to you so that you can review them and bring something back to us as far as a draft policy goes.
You can direct me through a resolution if you like, as part of the road grading policy, to come back and report back on our road grading policy
Okay.
and review all other public works policies if you like.
Okay. Heather, did you quickly draw something?
I'm not, yeah, so we're gonna
Go
do a
ahead.
resolution, just no,
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
And I'm able to assist any way I can. I certainly don't think it's out of the realm wheelhouse of working with whoever on ideas.
I think providing the ideas, but as a policymakers,
Yes.
you should
Okay.
then step back past the one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I think Heather's trying to put something together, or if you can rattle one off from memory.
Certainly,
Heather's typing there, so maybe.
well, I'll just listen to him.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
resolved, council directs the CAO to report back on a policy related to summer road grading and review existing public works policy and recommend any changes. Do you want me to report back in a period of time?
yes, but I don't want to make it far out there, and I don't want to give you a month to do it either, like, you gotta find that, whatever you're comfortable with. I don't know your, how about if we say March? Because I know that you're trying to be away.
Can you say April? Because I'm away all of February.
Sure,
Almost.
sure.
Okay. Obviously, we'll come in sooner than that and have policy discussions with council.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that looks after 6.8, the summer road grading policy. Now we're on to 6.9, and this was another addition, and that was the
No, sorry,
Oh,
Madam.
sorry.
We need to have a mover and a
Yes,
seconder.
we do, okay. Deepak read that resolution, so can I have a mover, please? Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we are going to talk about the hamper money distribution. And I think Councillor Strang put this one forward, so was it just a question of how much was collected and where it's going?
I
or-
did. Yes, I just thought it's in time need now, so I didn't see it on our agendas.
Right.
Just from our Christmas party. And I just wanted to bring forward, and I think I've already discussed with a few of you, that we did have one of the hamper programs that sort of came on strong to our staff here. And I just thought that was disrespectful too, if it was something that they were getting for free. So anyways,
What is it? Sure it is.
We can talk about that when we have our break, yeah.
yeah.
Heather, how much?
I've been dealing with
the meeting, so
like
you don't have
priority
a final?
stuff, so I haven't calculated.
Okay,
I did a fast, it's probably about 1,500.
So we
So-
have to,
I have to
We split
work,
it 50/50.
split
I have to
it.
do 50/50 too,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Um,
And we did collect a good amount of items too, like for the tin for the bed. So,
Okay.
yeah,
And did you have any contact with one of the churches here? Did they,
they brought that in.
they did bring it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll get all of that done by the end of the week. I can give you guys the final numbers, but I didn't,
we don't have to pass a resolution or anything.
no.
Okay, so then, anything else on the hampers? So we'll move on to 6.10, Christmas lights, and Councillor Strang, you brought this one forward, and I think it's probably to do with, that we should have more lighting around our office for starters.
I think, exactly, that's one of them. Just with us being on the main drag also, I know that every other municipality neighboring, I'm not sure of Broken Head yet, but they all have lights on there.
Well, you can't even see when you go past Broken Head, it's so bright for lights.
Well, I do
We were
remember,
trying to be environmentally conscious.
Did you hear about the guy who's got 100,000 lights on his house? Yeah, did you hear that thing? Yeah.
I can imagine.
No, but Chevy Chase in the movie only had 25,000. This guy's got 100,000 lights. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I know going to Lockport on Saturday evening down Henderson Highway, there's a few yards that are very nice, but two trees really stuck out in my mind. One is decorated with blue lights and the other one with green, but those trees must be 30 feet tall, and they are absolutely gorgeous looking when you're driving down Old Henderson Highway. Did I get the colors wrong, Dave?
No, I thought you were gonna mention, I got a question for Scott, you know that was Alexander's Lakes?
Oh, okay,
When we
yes.
went to Grand Marais,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
square, where'd you get those from?
They come from Quebec, and they put in a policy that they're replacing them over time, so they buy a few every year,
Okay,
and then
they're nice.
get rid of the old ones and
Yeah, I guess what they were, and they're in Alexander, they're in a square frame, like it's a square frame that has a star in it. And this frame is lit up a little bit, but the star is lit up, or whatever decoration is in there. And then they're not way up high, they're about halfway down the poles, aren't they, Scott? Yeah, and they looked really, really nice.
I think we should order some, or else maybe steal them from Alexander.
So 2 years ago, we were asked to do a report, we reported back, and that report wasn't accepted, council had sent us back, saying, go and take a look and see if there's local providers, because we couldn't find anybody that was willing to do it here. So then it was to go back and take a look at some local providers, and we really didn't find any local providers to do it. Then there were some comments about maybe trying to use it to do Public Works. So I think it is, if council really wants us to do the lights, then just allow me to do the lights and give me a budget and I'll just deliver the
Yeah.
lights.
I think that's a good idea.
I've put in all our lights before, but
Yeah, I don't think they do.
But that's the thing, it's, as opposed to try to find someone or try to find a solution, just say, get it done, Mr. CIO, and then I'll just get it done.
if I remember,
Yeah,
We had a welder that was gonna.
right. Go ahead, Scott.
if I remember correctly, they were reasonable, like the cost per,
Unit.
the ones you're talking about.
yeah, like Michelle would be able to give you that.
That's
I will-
something to look at FCM, because there's two of them that, I remember there was two companies
Yes.
there. One of them is from Quebec,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that you said that, and another one, I think it's from Alberta or something.
Yes,
that's-
but not local.
No local, no. Go ahead, Sandra.
The other thing is when they're putting the lights up, do you think that they could check to make sure that they do work?
They're
There's
supposed to.
so many out there that are all burnt out already and Christmas isn't even here.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're checked before, that when they're brought back in, Or did they check them just before? Because I think they contracted out too, right? I don't think
Yes.
it's,
Yeah,
so
Is it
I don't know,
contracted
before
out
they're
now?
put away, could they,
Is it contracted out?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually you don't check when they're putting it away, usually you check when you put them up.
yeah, well,
That's right.
whoever the gentleman didn't. So there's so many of them out there now that are burnt out.
So maybe he
Or only
just,
half's working.
maybe he just takes them back to his place and stores them there, maybe he doesn't even give them back.
I didn't know that, I thought they're all stored
So
here.
maybe he's not checking.
I didn't know
wasn't
that.
it still the guy from Stonewall that puts them?
Oh, no, Murray hasn't, because I used to be with. working
Yeah, I
with him.
know,
No, I don't,
okay,
I don't know
so,
who we have.
It's
I
a
just
white
didn't-
truck, a white bull truck.
But we were in charge of making sure the lights were all working.
You and Murray,
No,
yeah, and I
Oh,
noticed,
oh,
I
I worked
don't
with
know,
him.
I haven't driven through the whole municipality, but
He's a
we
good
had
guy.
got some newer fixtures a few years ago,
Yeah.
and I don't see
I don't
those
know what happened to
anywhere.
them, yeah. But I do like, that's just me, but, well, you actually, you're the one that found, Alexander, we should, it would be nice to look into what those cost.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do that.
I mean, I don't think we would have the blow, we could still use our original stabs, you'd have to put the appropriate thing to
Yeah.
match them.
So,
They're very nice. I think anyway.
too bad we don't have to go up there again. I never even thought, well, it was daylight too, so you could see them, but they weren't really bright. Just-
But they still stood out in
daylight come.
the daylight, when it was, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so Deepak's gonna do some, looking into that.
I'm slowly making progress, Madam Mayor. We do have 2 wreaths now.
Yes, yes. And I do remember also at one time,
Nobody
these,
sees them in the
these-
dark when they're driving by.
these
Yeah, I
trees,
could've- that's all I could
trees
get.
used to have-
these trees in the front used to be not decorated, they used to have lights on them, and they look very nice.
They're still on,
The cedars.
the great trees growing quite a bit. If you go look, you'll see they're still on there.
They're just not plugged in, or what?
They're probably so old that, trust
I
me,
will make sure that lights for next year will be.
Ah, humbug, we are.
And we will get, I'll even print a humbug sign if this is.
We just read the word.
the one in front, like you gotta hire a bucket truck.
People
Like
come
guys
around this
do
curve.
the
I want
lights,
us to
you
be
can
the
do
place
it.
to be, not
Just
to the
go
other
to the places
municipalities.
to have it done.
The trees.
Maybe they'll come around this curve in the road and
Yeah, exactly, just like in Broken Lake.
Okay,
Speaking of light service,
Should we move-
sometimes and then you're, sorry,
go ahead, no, finish, because I'm gonna move
my
on.
request to think about at least, I don't know, at least better 6 lights on Ferry Road.
We
Said you
thought we
were,
talked about that
We
last
did.
meeting.
we talked about, it. Just wonder if we're,
Christmas lights on Ferry Road?
no.
No, street
no, not
lights.
Christmas lights, just lighting.
We would get public.
Because of the
notice
traffic,
to
okay, I
report
just-
back, yeah.
Appreciate it, if it doesn't go well, it's fine.
Go ahead, Sandra.
You know what I'm gonna say? Before Ferry Road's ever done, Rebec Road has to get finished. That was started with 2 councils previous. It's never been completed. It's up to Donald Road and it's not done all the way down to East St. Paul yet.
Street
And
light.
that was budgeted 14 years
And that
ago.
was, nope,
Okay, we'll bring both of those for the budget discussions
just
for
10 years ago.
Thank you.
Ferry Road and which road?
Rebecca. Okay,
And if we could move them from legal to.
Let us move on to
And
the
legal
accounts,
was there a
please.
lot longer before any of those roads were.
That brings us down to our closed list of accounts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolved, Council to approve the December 12th, 2023 list of accounts. Check numbers 2300-2179 to 2300-2344 in the amount of $9,224,245 at 23 cents for payment, which includes the following school payments. Education support levy to the province, $332,052.80. North Selkirk School Division, $5,751,555.22. River East Transcona School Division, $1,621,142.40. and Sunrise School Division, $686,129.59.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Strang, second, please. Counselor Horbis, any discussion?
Big checks written.
Yeah, I'm just looking though, the education support levy seems low to me.
It's been dropping, hasn't it? Hasn't the province been dropping?
Yes, they have.
Okay,
And this is just the last part of the levy.
oh, okay. Okay, have a mover, have a seconder. Are there any other questions or comments on the list of accounts? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next, we have our November financial statement for approval.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and you'll see the November financial statements have been presented to council. I also will be going through in detail the financial issues related with the RM for the December as part of our in-camera discussions, as part of the financial discussions. And we will have sort of year-end kind of review next month to do more detail as to how we fared for the end of December in January. So for this moment, what I'm putting forward is the November 30th financial statements, which is resolved in November 30th, 2023, financial statements be adopted as presented.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Spicer, second, please. Counselor Strang, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 7.3, our interim operating budget, and that is something that we are required to have done before the end of the year for beginning of next year.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Before the budget is adopted, we need to have an interim budget, and so whereas in accordance with Section 163 of the Municipal Act, the Council of the Rural Municipality St. Clements have made an interim operating budget for all operating and capital expenditures in the municipality to be in the effect from January 1st, 2024 until the adoption of the operating and capital budget for the year. Therefore, be it resolved, the following interim operating budget be adopted. Operating requirements, general government services, $360,000. Protective services, $200,000. Transportation services, $720,000. Environmental health services, $200,000. Environmental development services, $15,000. Economic development services, $26,000. Recreation and cultural services, $73,000. Fiscal capital, $500,000, $500,000. Capital requirements for borne from reserves or by reserves, $750,000.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I have a mover, please? Can I have a mover? Counselor Sutherland, second. Counselor Spicer, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, and that takes us to our grants for this time around. We have a couple here today. The first one is the Lockport Community Development Group.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is for the Lockport Ice Village and the entertainment process. They're asking again for $3,000. This was an event that was started last year, and it's for the Ice Village and the Ice Village area that was quite a success from last year. They provided their interim operating budget. They are requesting $3,000 from us, as well as $3,000 from the Arm of St. Andrews, and then they get contributions from also the Lockport Development Corporations themselves, as well as the people. This has been a very successful program, and it continues to invite more and more people into the Lockport area over the winter time. So we're recommending approval for $3,000 for the yearly event of the Lockport Ice Village.
Any questions or comments?
It looked really good last year.
I hope they can have it this year.
Yeah, the way it's going, yeah, unfortunately, but.
I have confidence that
We're getting that cold, yeah.
We'll get cold, no matter what we think.
Yeah. Okay, I guess because it is later in the season already, I was gonna maybe suggest giving them a little bit more money, but maybe this year they don't need it and we can consider it for next year. Because I think they did a very good job, and it was very well received by lots of people from outside of the area. It's not just for, you know, our residents and St. Andrews residents, it's people are coming from everywhere to see that ice fishing village. And I think it was a very well planned out venue that they had there, so.
It looked really neat when you walked across the bridge on the walk and looked out towards it. I took
Yeah.
some pictures that really looked neat from that height.
Okay, if you want to bring the resolution forward then.
Resolve council approve the following 2023 grant request, Lockport Community Development Group, 2024 Lights Village and Entertainment, $3,000.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, second Councillor Spicer. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the Boreal Shores Art Tour.
So this is the Boreal Shores Art Tour request. They're requesting for $2,500. Last year, we awarded them $500. And they're submitting the request again this year to support their art tour. And we're recommending to go forward with the either the $2,500 or the $500 as council wishes.
Well, I don't know, about 2,500, that's a big jump.
Did they say why they needed significantly more in their request?
They asked for similar amount last time, and this is what
Yeah,
council
okay.
approved.
What does the money go towards if they're,
I think to the
like their
arts.
expenses are, that's what,
It
The
says
project costs are for expenses for accounting, advertising. Most of it is mostly devoted to advertising. And then there's the coordinator, which is the significant part of the costs. So the coordinator for the art show is a paid position.
And the brochures is a cost, big cost too.
Yeah.
Between those two, it's
Yeah,
2/3 of the money.
yeah.
we could bump it up. I don't know.
This covers a large area too, does it not?
It
It
does,
does.
it does.
So how many RMs are in on
Goes right from
Whitemouth, doesn't it?
Reynolds all the way up and then back to us.
I would imagine all the other RMs are getting 2,500.
Looks like they budgeted for $7,500 in RM grants. So that would only be 3 RMs at $2,500 each. And they cover a lot more than that.
We don't have to get to 25, but we could give a bit more, maybe.
I would support it.
750?
No, I would support $1,000 for them this year. Too much?
Well, I just want to know where all this money's gonna come from later on. Like, it's not much, it's $500, but 5 here, 5 there, it's all.
Well, see, it says that there are 33 artists. I'm trying to read this and I'm having a heck of a time because it's not big enough for my poor eyes here today. With diverse work including acrylics and all that lists what kind of art they're doing there. And I know that I went to it not this summer, I guess it was last summer, but there was only in our municipality that I knew that was listed, there were only 3, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like there's only 2 on the map.
We have
Well-
Balsam Harbor,
And Lakeshore.
Lakeshore Heights, yeah. So, I don't know, do you want to split it in the middle and go 750 then, or?
It's fine.
Can we give the bus back?
Back to-
500.
I think there was more artists last year too, so. Is it something, I was gonna say, can you find out?
It doesn't matter to me, whatever you guys want to do, but I'm just saying, like, we,
This is 2023's map too, so
Right.
2024 they could have, yeah.
What is the
750
wish?
fine. 750?
yeah,
Yeah, 750. I'm good with it.
Okay,
Resolve council approve the following 2023 grant requests. Boreal Art Tour, Boreal Shores Art Tour 2024, $750.
can I have a mover, please? Counselor Pasarowicz, Counselor Corbus seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, we have no bylaws today. Communications for information, there's a number of letters there or notifications. And Deepak, was there anything that you wanted to touch on? Go ahead, Councilor Balaji, I see you got your hand up.
It's just interesting, the bill recognizing Louis Riel. Often we know, everybody knows that he was one of the main founders of the province, but when you actually see it written that he was actually the first premier, it just sounds so much more cooler, like it really does. The first premier of the province, you don't often hear him refer to him as that, but in this document, they are referencing him as that, and I think that's really neat.
Go ahead, Scott.
I have a few questions on 9.2.2, which maybe should be dealt with in camera.
Yes,
Yes.
it will be addressed as part of the financial review in the camera.
Seems like there's some requirements we have to cover with that.
Manitoba Good Roads, that we had 2 winners in our municipality. 2 awards.
I didn't even see this one.
Yeah, we have one in one of our residents as well.
Yeah, and I think that the Heather and her staff will be looking after a room for our resident winner.
Yep. The other one is the Selkirk District Community Foundation. There's 6 grants coming to the Arm of St. Clements,
Yes.
so which is very nice. And I think we just have to let everybody know that they did apply for them themselves. We have nothing to do with it.
Right. Yes, and that's important because people think right away that we're giving them the money, but we're really not. We really don't have anything to do with it other than giving the Selkirk District Community Foundation through our, I guess, our program that we have. They get the money and then distribute it for us.
I think one of them that we did apply for like Brenna or Taylor, because one of them's going to the recreation programming that they do
Right.
at all the community centers, so.
Yes, it's for there's some funds going to the East Selkirk Early Learning, the new daycare is getting $18,000. The Hand in Hand daycare is getting another $5,000. And then our recreation programs is getting to support the programming, basically a projector to purchase for part of the programming that we're doing there. And for the East Beaches was towards the touch screens that are being $10,000 at the East Beaches Heritage Wing, at our Heritage Wing. We're getting $10,000 there. For the social scene, which was the hamper program, $1,000, and then Abundant Life received $3,000. So that's the one, and as to 9.22, I think it should be at least noted that we did receive our per capita funding for this program, and it does have requirements to be met, which we're still working on with the province of Manitoba. But I think it's worthwhile at least notifying and being public for the fact that it's been put out here for information, that it's $888.
$88,311.96.
Yes, $888,311.96 is the amount of funding that's been made available that I'll be recommending to council through dialogue as to where that money should go for balancing our future budgets.
No word on that 16 million yet, Dave? Unless we get closer.
Yes, I haven't heard a thing, neither has the other RMs. I was talking to several of them at the AMM, and
Looks like everybody's gonna get it, right?
looks like Winnipeg's gonna get it, it's just how much, and then once they finish with the larger cities, they'll move up to the rural areas. But as we can certainly see, they haven't lived up to their timelines that they had originally. It's becoming more like an ISIP program now.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else that we want to talk about? Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
One other one was the 9.9.1, the Grand Marais Community Central, that they had a election for GMCC board, and the only thing is you read there was only like 6 people in attendance at the whole meeting, and there's 4 people elected to the board, so I guess it would have been nice to have more people at the meeting for the election.
Was that advertised as, because it says it's a meeting of a board of directors, it doesn't say it's like a AGM or...
So is that what they do it then? They just change the board of the people around on the board? I don't know. I was just surprised that there was only that
It
little.
should be done at an AGM, shouldn't it?
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
It should be advertised. I know at one time it was.
I guess when I read it, I was just surprised that there was that few people and then the 4 positions.
Right, and there's only been one change. I'm not sure who the vice chair was before.
Well, that's Dave Sutherland.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Frank.
Geez, I'm just looking at their summary here. The Grand Fitness, they made $10,000. That's pretty darn good. 36 members, 10 grand.
Well, even Saturday morning when we were there, the weather was kind of miserable, like from the Friday night storm and everything. And when we went there to go into the parade, there was probably 5 or 6 cars at GMCC, but there was nothing was open. So I never commented, but I thought, geez, they must be at the gym because the building itself wasn't opened. So. Okay, so then we can, anything else under the correspondence for info? Okay, we are down then to council reports, and I'm going to start with Councillor Boulanger today.
All I have is the wonderful trip we took to Brandon. Mayor Peebleford and I drove together to Brandon. I thought the conference was refreshing. I thought it was well put together. They had some really good speakers. The Premier's main message and his government's main message is communication, changing communication, improving communication. And it really was a refreshing thing to hear, especially coming from the previous government. It was just nice to hear it, that he was recognizing that and that improvements had to be made. So it was very nice to hear that. The one breakout session I went to, and I'm sure others are going to talk about it, was a retired general from the Canadian Army did a very good talk on leadership and what it means to be a leader. There wasn't a dry eye in that room after his talk. He made a reference, very nicely done, how he presented it, and it was really interesting. He was really dynamic as a speaker. He really had encapsulated the crowd in the way he talked, and it was just very well put together on leadership. The other one was the report or the breakout on AI and the concerns we all should have regarding AI, not only within our municipalities, but the message going out to the world. And I think the main point that sticks in my mind, what he said was, you know when you should be concerned when the person, one of them, there's a couple, but I think one of them, main developers of AI, when they start getting concerned about what they created, is when we all should be concerned. And I think the reference made is, you know, if you're in a helicopter with a bunch of seasoned pilots and you're hitting rough weather and you look around and they all look calm, that's fine. But if you hit rough weather and you look at those seasoned people in the plane, if they're all freaking out, then I think it's time we all should freak out. And that's the same correlation to the people who develop AI is they're concerned right now that where it's going to go. And I think his message was that we all have to do something together to really push government on putting more parameters in place to control it. Because if we just sit back and do nothing, it's going to be out of control like it almost is now. So I found that very interesting and scary at the same time. Otherwise, everything else was great. It was well put together and I enjoyed it. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
December 1st, did the Santa Parade of Lights in Selkirk with the mayor, Councillor Burbis and Councillor Sutherland. Lots of people, it was packed there, but the weather was super nice. Unfortunately, we ran out of candy, less than half, we weren't even halfway, and our candy was gone. And we weren't even given to everybody, but
I don't know ever how much to get. So I know you guys had too much at grandma right now, so.
Yeah, see, and I guess the other
It's-
thing too, and I mean, it's weather dependent too, how many people come out. I know, you know, in past years, the crowds haven't been like they were this year. Last year was pretty good, but this
I
year
think that
was
was 20
phenomenal.
pounds of candy canes that I got, so.
But it wasn't too much in Grand Marais, there was nobody there. That was the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we've
The
been there
different weather.
every year and
Was it
there
like that?
was hardly anyone there, anything.
Was it nice?
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, I guess,
we'll
that
just have to watch the weather
watch the
reports. of
weather,
what
and if it looks
the-
like it's gonna be a nice night, we'll have to.
Like you didn't
So-
even want to make eye contact. I just kept walking straight.
Yeah, you never know how much to get.
Dave's
Well,
going
that's
to
right.
get in the truck, and I said, well, keep walking.
Just get in.
He went and jumped in. December 7th, went to the Association of Rural Municipalities meeting in West St. Paul. It was their Christmas dinner. They did have their entertainment that evening with Brian Glow, but they also had a lady, her name was Bev Bragg, and she was from the arm of West St. Paul. She looks after all the veterans. And just saying how a lot of the streets have been changed to veterans' names in the area, that they had so many veterans. It used to build from 16, went to 77, and then it was up in the hundreds that how many people went from West St. Paul to war. And then Brian Glow, and then December 8th, we had our RM Christmas party, and I have to say the weather was bad that night, but walked in the place was packed. Unfortunately, certain people couldn't be there. We did miss you, Deepak, but your fill-in, he did a really good job. He was so nervous, but he did a great job. And missed you too, Scott. But yeah, he did a great job. It was a good evening had by all. But everybody kept on looking at the blizzard outside. Like it looked like a blizzard with the lights there from the bridge. But yeah,
You can talk more about that in camera, because I'm not overly happy with how it turned out.
Well, yeah, we
But
can.
you know behind the scenes, otherwise.
I know a little bit too before I left.
Yeah.
I spoke to somebody, so we'll talk about it after. Councillor Strang, are you done?
Yep, that's
Okay,
it. That's
go
all.
ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you. November 23rd, MAR meeting. We kind of just discussed the forum in the fall, venues for the upcoming forums, because had some issues with the lost forum, the venue. 23rd, so same day, the GMCC meeting and staff appreciation dinner. I didn't write anything in my book, so hopefully, Dave, you can bring something up about the meeting, because I have nothing written. Can't remember what. Anyway, that was both on the 23rd. On November 24th, Mayor Fiebel-Corin and myself attended the Selkirk RCMP detachment of the Reconciliation Mural. which was, this East Selkirk students did a very nice job of that mural. Really impressive. You'd have to see it to.
Well, actually, while you're talking, I have a couple of pictures here, I'll send them to Deepak, and
Okay,
maybe he
yeah.
can just put them on the
Because
screen
you had to kind of piece
for
it
us.
together.
Yeah,
couldn't
you
take
did.
it. But it was, you're gonna commend them on that, the job that they did. December 7th, the ARM meeting, as Councillor Strang mentioned. Bev Bragg and the comedian we had and everything, it was good. And she did a nice job of it, her talk about all the veterans. And again, as Sandra mentioned, we are at the Santa Claus Parade in Selkirk. And what was that, the first? December 9th, the Santa Claus Parade in Grand Marais. Mayor Feeblecorn, Councillor Horvis and myself attended. Unfortunately, I guess because of the weather, I don't know, attendance was, I'm gonna say a quarter of the people there was previous, the kids. So, it's just the way it was, but, and that's it.
Okay, thank you
Oh,
for that.
well, last Friday, the Christmas dinner, if you'll be able to put that down again.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Horvis.
Go, Councillor Strang, had a question.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna add to Councillor Sutherland's, Heather, thank you to all your work too, because I know you were running around there and to all the staff that helped you, so thank you.
Okay, anything else? Go ahead, Councillor Horvis.
November the 23rd, the GMCC meeting, or GMCC, or whatever it's called, meeting. Councillor Sutherland, Frank Sutherland, and myself were at that meeting. And they talked about the building and what's going on there. They still are talking about putting the kitchen in there. I guess they're going ahead with that, putting the kitchen in the building. That's their big priority right now. They're getting, moving ahead with that.
They still need permission from the owners of the building.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
And I think that might be something they need to be reminded of.
well, I kind of mentioned it at the meeting, but I mean, they're full steam ahead on it, so just so you're aware of it. What else did we talk about there? Just about how everything went. There's 40-some people still on the wait list for the park there. Yeah, there was some people leaving, but the place was filled. They talked about other stuff about the market there, and they're doing that kind of stuff. And they applied for a grant. They're waiting on some grants for the gym there. And it has, at this time, it has 36 members of there at the fitness center. I did both the parades, the Selkirk parade with Mayor Strang and Frank Sutherland and the mayor and myself. And Grand Marais, the parade there, I did that again with Frank Sutherland and the mayor and myself. And then the Christmas party, which was really, really good. You guys did a good job, Heather. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Palacio.
Just regarding the Christmas parade in Selkirk, Scott, when we did the Selkirk one in summer, it was lots of people. I'm just referencing the candy problem. I don't think we were short, were we, in the summer? Just made it?
Made it.
Okay, so that could be a thumbnail for, I mean, that summer parade is busy.
Yeah, we didn't give it to everybody either, you know.
No, but we were just,
Okay,
I don't know,
okay,
I remember.
We were sharing with the fire department back and forth.
okay.
Yeah, because the fire department gives out candy. It's like a double thing for us, really. Fire trucks.
That's the
You know,
summer,
That's the
that's
same,
the
that's
summer
out-
one.
But that's out of our same loot. We
Yeah.
just split it to whatever,
Yeah, so, I mean,
Oh, they're not getting their own.
Oh,
In the summer parade, no, they
So we
come
have
over
to-
to us and they scoop ours, so we
Oh,
sort of,
really?
see, I
yeah,
didn't know that, so we ordered.
that's good to know too.
But in
Yeah.
Grand Marais, they had the fire trucks, we never gave them none of our candy. They had
No, in
their
the
own.
No,
summer.
they never handed anything out to my knowledge, they just were in the trucks.
That girl, remember, she was beside us all the time.
Was she with the fire
She
department?
was with the fire
Okay.
department, yeah.
Well, they had freezies or something she was having.
Yeah, yeah, from the summer probably.
So, okay, you're done, Counselor Corbus?
Yep.
Go ahead, Counselor Bazarowicz.
Okay, I gotta go back a little ways here. So October 24th, we did a cow meeting here. We talked about regional programs and planning. October 25th through 7th, planning conference. Gino DeStasio was one of the speakers there, very interesting. It was, walked down memory lane. He grew up in downtown Winnipeg and went to the same places that we used to go, like the different theaters and pool halls and all that other stuff. It was really cool. Planning 101 and 102 regulations, secondary plan, zoning, subdivisions, development scenarios, bylaws, impacts, municipal recalibration. This was a Selkirk presentation, their pathway to sustainable development. They talked, they had their CAO and development officer. They were talking about the silica sand plant they're building there and their big development, housing development. Municipal board mandate and process, protecting the single-family home. Yeah, it was kind of weird that trying to go more into regional housing or not so much regional, but like sixplexes and apartment blocks and that is as opposed to single-family homes, which we have now. And then there was another speaker there, Sandeep Agrawal. He spoke on human rights. Very good speaker again, very interesting. And then November 27th through 30th, the MM conference in Brandon. Excellent motivational speakers, as was mentioned already. Through some of the speeches and that. The future sounds promising. I hope they can deliver. December 7th, Arden West St. Paul. It was their Xmas party. The spouses were there. The veteran speaker, Bev Bragg, was mentioned. She was very good. The entertainment was good. Brian Cole, local boy. And our Christmas party on December 8th. The staff did a wonderful job. Thanks again. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead, Counselor Spicer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also attended the Association of Manitoba Municipalities Annual Convention, November 27th and 30th. I won't comment more on the convention other than the fact that we had 4 resolutions there. I believe that 3 of them passed and 1 did not. And the one that didn't pass was the one that was dealing with subdivisions that require variances. We were trying to get them to take a look at the act so they can be done at the same time, but it didn't pass. The other thing I wanted to bring forward was I was talking to Echo West, and they do have some climate adaptation and disaster mitigation workshops coming in February. So I can pass that on to administration if anyone's interested. December the 4th, we had an executive committee meeting of Red River Planning. quickly, we did apply for a grant under the, what is it called, NDIP?
Yeah.
And were approved, but no approved information yet on the amount of the grant. And we will be going forward with the executive director evaluation. December the 6th, I attended the prompt payment webinar, and this is it's called Bill 38, the Builders Liens Amendment Act. It was introduced into the province on May the 31st. It has not been given final sign yet, but essentially, it's going to change in some ways how we are required to pay our bills. Did have a quick discussion with our CAO, and it sounds like we've got it under control. But basically, just sum it up, 90 days to pay is no longer going to be good. It's 20 days from when you get the invoice. And if you are going to contest what's on the invoice, you have 14 days to do that. Now, where this becomes important, I guess, is if we're getting some work done by a contractor and that work needs to be, or that bill needs to be reviewed by our engineer. We're going to make sure that our engineer is prompt, because we only have 14 days to contest. It's quite interesting. Apparently, we should assume that it's going to come into play because it's already in Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. BC is working on it right now. So,
Is that a bill or a tender? A tender would be.
no, like you get your invoice,
Yeah,
the invoice has to meet certain parameters, which most of them will, from what I heard. And then you have 28 days to pay. So, and if you're gonna contest something, you gotta do it within 14 days. As I said, I did have a discussion with our CAO, and it looks like we're not gonna have a whole lot of trouble meeting it, so. On December the 6th, I attended the Red River Planning meeting with the WMR. The meeting was supposed to be an hour and a half. We pushed that. So basically, RRPD had submitted 4 questions. We only got through 3 of them. But the main ones was the whole concept of in Plan 2050, the whole population projections, everybody on the north end of the city of Winnipeg, which includes a large portion of our people, are questioning how they came up with that and the ramifications of it. So essentially, it comes down to a demographics projection. So I asked the question about, well, are you considering migration in and out of municipalities? The answer was no. I asked the question about infrastructure, because if infrastructure going in, typically development follows. The answer was no, because that's speculative, but they are looking at, this was done on the old census, which was 2016. They are going to review it with the 2021 census now. Because essentially they had us staying about the same, St. Andrews was going to go down, I think East St. Paul was going to go down, and they had West St. Paul going up a bit. But West St. Paul went up 24%. And as you know, ours went up 6.5% of population through the last census. So they are going to take a look at it again. The ramification question was, does this have anything to do with grant funding decisions and or development decisions? The answer was no to both. Well, no from them, but that doesn't mean some other bureaucrat isn't looking at it, right? From a different department. So, the second one that generated a ton of discussion was the whole concept of density. So clarification wise, and we're talking about the whole, what is it,
Four units per acre.
4 units per acre. This is for greenfield development, so this is brand new development lands, and in settlement centers. So for our purposes, that would be Selkirk and Lockport for the most part. The question was asked about, well, how are you going to look at this? And the answer came back on a project per project basis. Because there was some discussion about, do you take an area and say, you know, if a 6-story high-rise comes up, and that's in part of the area, does that mean that some of the other lots don't have to meet that quarter-acre requirement? And there was some him and hawing on that question. I don't think we got the real answer. It sounds like there could be an opportunity for us in our development plans, secondary plans, and zoning bylaws that we will be able to put some wording in there that could meet the regional plan. Instead of them dictating down through Plan 2050, they might be changing the wording in it to say the planning district and or municipality will put in wording, which is good, because then at least we're getting our say. There is apparently some wording in there that there can be exceptions to that density with reasons. I walked away from the meeting with a concern in my mind. And my concern was, let's take a look at a couple of developments that have happened here in the last while. One is Arctic Infrastructures. If you remember correctly, his lots are larger. And we asked him in a meeting, well, have you considered smaller lots? And he said they don't sell. So now, if the plan is telling us that we have to go smaller lot, but yet everybody wants a larger lot, what does that mean? And the other one I thought about was the one off of, I think it's Ferry Road. the one that he put in various size lots
Yes,
for different types of.
yes,
So then I thought to myself, well, okay, that kind of fits that whole concept of, do they all have to be quarter-acre lots?
yeah, good.
Or can there be a mixture, right? So those were just a couple of things that came to mind. The other thing that East St. Paul brought up, which was a really good point, was, does this calculation happen on gross or net? So let's say you got a 100-acre parcel, and 30 acres of it is a drainage pond by design, because that can happen, right? Does that mean you have to meet the quarter acre, or the calculation on the 100 or the 70? And it looks like we're gonna try and put some wording together to make it net instead of gross.
Makes sense.
Because otherwise, you are looking at apartment buildings to maybe make it meet. And then does that fit with the surrounding areas? There is, the third question was about targets. There's supposed to be some targets in there that we're meeting. And we're gonna try and put that into development plan or zoning bylaw or secondary plan. So overall, it was an interesting meeting. We still have till December the 17th to make any comments. But I did have a discussion with our CAO, who has been working on this. And there has been movement. Like, there were a whole bunch of sections that used to say, we shall do this, and they've been changed to may. So it is giving us some flexibility, and then I guess if we can do that in our own plans, then at least we're, because that's the biggest concern, I think, around the table, is we're being dictated to, and where does our, where does our input come into this? And I think we've found where it can. That's all I have, sorry for the long report.
Madam Chair?
It's okay, Scott. Go ahead, Councilor Blanchard.
Just want to comment on one of Scott's topics there at AMM, and I think it's important that everybody hears Sandra ask the question. The one resolution that didn't get passed, clearly, the room was full, and we had one of the best people speaking to that resolution in the name of Deepak. Clearly, by the people who went up to the mic, which was, there was a few of them from all parts of the province, didn't understand what the resolution was about, because the reason we put that resolution forward was to have the variance come with the subdivision.
Right.
What we find all the time is the confusion from people, the extra money that they're paying, and when people were speaking up at the mic, they were talking about it benefiting the developer and everything else. They clearly didn't get the resolution that Deepak was speaking to. So I think it's important that we go at it again somehow, but not let this die, but I wanted everybody to hear what went on, because they weren't getting it.
No, not at all.
They weren't getting it, and Sandra was asking why didn't it, well, that's the reason, they weren't understanding, and Deepak read it clearly and answered to their questions, and they still didn't get it. So I think it's important that we try to get that together.
Yeah, we can speak about it a little later if you like, just to get everybody on the same page, so. Okay, anything else for Scott or anybody? I'm gonna go through mine then. I did send Deepak a couple of pictures of that mural. So November 21st, we had our regular council meeting. November the 24th, I had the mural unveiling that Councillor Sutherland and I were at. Then the 27th to the 30th was the convention, as the others have said. December 1st, Parade of Lights in Selkirk. December 2nd was the St. Peter's Old Stone Church Carol service, and I attended that and actually did a reading there. Scott covered the RRPD executive meeting, so I don't have to go through that. I thought Mayor Trudeau did a good job of chairing the meeting. He doesn't get to do that very often as far as RRPD is concerned, so that was good. I guess the busiest day I had was on December the 6th when I was here. John Q had arranged for a number of school division representatives to attend for an information session and walkthrough of the new child care facility. I guess they're trying to get the school boards on board with building these daycares because they have all this money and they need to spend it, and the school division should be jumping on board to get this done. So the chamber was full both for the morning and the afternoon session. There wasn't an empty chair. And there was people from the province here, and of course Colleen was here. Deepak joined us for a few minutes during both sessions, just right after I had the kind of the welcome. Deepak had a few words, which was good. So I think everybody thought that the facility was really good, and there weren't a lot of questions and answers after the tour. Most of the questions came before the tour, so. And then the ARM on the 7th and the 8th, the holiday celebration, and the 9th, the Grand Marais Santa breakfast and parade. And that's all I have. Hello, Brenna.
Hi.
Go ahead, Deepak, and
Sure.
do his quick, and then we'll let you go.
So, my report, usually it's at the end of the month and there's a lot more to cover, but since we just had a recent update on November the 21st, and since then, first of all, the curb stop connections that are, the contract has completed all curb stop connections and received all their bills have been paid. We'll be discussing more as to the overall financial situation and how we're going to move forward. Number 2, the St. Clements Activity Center, the design build contract has been signed. Detailed design discussions have begun, and we're on some of the final designs and some back and forth on some of those issues, and I can certainly share that in camera further, but it's discussions on you know, what, how large of the windows and those types of details that we're dealing with right now. Our contractor that's been working as our owner's representative has worked out very well and is very on top of the project. Signage for the ISEP funding for the project has been created and will be placed on site very shortly. And so that'll be as part of our requirement where it talks about a $6 million project equally funded between all 3 levels of government. The regional water line, the project continues to be on schedule, and the contractor is continuing its focus on the alignment north of the floodway and working towards the water treatment plant. I think they're going under the creek right now. And as to the Lockport wastewater treatment plant, the RFP for the lift station has been completed, and the Manitoba Water Services Board has selected a contractor, and its bus has been selected as the contractor. And so that will be moving forward, and they've also shown some innovative approaches, which is going to be hopefully saving the RM that have been submitted by Busk Construction.
Question. They've been having some great weather for that water line installation. Like it's
Yes.
been paramount. It's huge. I see them out there and they're just giving.
As a matter of fact, they would prefer it a little colder
Really?
because it gets too muddy for them to be able to get in there and work in there. So just a little bit colder, the drills are working fine.
Are you on budget for that? Or?
Right now, we're still on budget because the timelines are a big thing on that one, and they're staying consistent with the timeline on that budget. And that budget, or that project came in under what we had predicted as budget. So we should be doing very well on that. General meetings, the regional water line project, and there'll be another one tomorrow, and they're consistently going on. Meeting with the landowner for the water line alignment for along 59 here, and that worked out well, and we've signed the agreement and moving forward on the activity center project meetings. Attended the event in Brandon as discussed, also had meetings with the Manitoba Water Services Board, and some of the councillors and myself met with the Manitoba Water Services Board about moving forward into regional planning as we move forward, and I'll discuss that a little bit later in camera with council. and various general meetings of the various business operations. Monthly update on the fire department statistics that I normally provide are for November, December, we're not ready, and so at this time, we'll provide a complete year-end analysis on all those stats in January.
You gave us some of those numbers at the Christmas party, when the fire chief spoke.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
That was pretty trivial.
yeah, yeah.
And those are great to share with council, but my intent is part of the CAO report so they can become also
No, I'm
public.
just saying.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, so
the
that's
end of my
the-
report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Deepak? Oh, we're moving camera and this is Brad first. Not sure.
We're moving into in-camera, that's what Brad is here for.
Thank you.
So resolve council recess the regular meeting and go into in-camera to discuss legal and personnel issues, and further be it resolved that all matters discussed are to remain confidential as per section 83(1)D of the municipal act.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, second, please. Councillor Horbis. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, just wait a second. Heather's disappeared for a minute.
Superior.
Yeah, that one has to be shut.
Now lock it so Glenn can't get back in.
We just have to wait for Heather to get back so she can turn the camera off.
Mm.
Let's see.
Just in the bathroom, she should be out. So.
Oh. Do you want to just throw those pictures I sent you up on the screen?
Certainly.
That was that mural unveiling at the Selkirk RCMP attached.
It's also on Facebook.
Oh, did you?
So there's the mural. They're all on the TV.
And there's the students that worked on the mural, and they're actually from the East Selkirk Middle School here.
So this is inside the building. And that's a better picture of the mural itself from one side.
It's pretty good, eh?
Very nice.
Oh, it was awesome, it's awesome looking.
And another mural, or close-up of it. And then
And we all thought that, go back one, please, Deepak. We all thought that was kind of neat because it's a tree going over the river and then kind of a boardwalk and then the railway as you're coming
Yeah, they
into.
put a lot of thought into that.
Mhm. Yeah,
And that's in the office, that's not when you walk in.
that's
So
upstairs.
the mezzanine up top,
Mezzanine,
is kind of a circle part.
So you never could really see it anymore, really, could you, unless you got arrested?
Well, no, because the sons are downstairs, because that day that when we were there, he said, you know, we take you for a tour, but we're kind of, our house is full today, so. So I thought I thought it was a really neat mural, and that's to celebrate their 150th. And Rita Patrician, who was here with her students, she was the one that was helping the students to design it and overseeing the project, so.
Is that a Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Supposed to be that.
Squatch.
Dave. Frank.
So those are those pictures. And you were asking about AI, and you were talking about it, just to give you an idea. This was